Investec Champions Cup week 2025-26 season. It kicks off. Hello, my mate. Ask me how I am.
Matey, it's lovely to see you back from the UK, mate. You survived the trip. How was it?
Mate, I'm shattered.
I can hear.
I'm shattered, mate.
I can hear.
And I don't have a lisp.
So great to see you.
It's nice to have a secure connection.
Welcome back, man.
How did you Oaks not tell me that the connection was so unsecure from Cardiff that I spoke like that the whole time?
I think it was a YouTube thing in Europe because it was actually fine. Yeah, Emmy and I watched it. There was no lisp, eh? Is that right? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Tyson. Watch me be Peter.
Okay, so it was just in Europe.
It's just you.
Maybe I just felt wealth for the day.
It could be that, mate. You were well. Yeah.
And if anyone wants to know, in Cardiff, it's still there's no wickets down. It's still 73 without loss for South Africa. Hey!
Mate, if you're into wealth, then Investec is for you. This is a perfect show for you then, isn't it?
Come on, mate. Come on. I was at Investec yesterday for their internal launch.
Yeah.
My goodness. I've never been into their head office in Sandton.
Yeah.
Their auditorium is like the size of the convention center in Cape Town.
For real?
Basically the size of Cape Town.
Wow.
Okay. Their dining area is basically the waterfront.
Okay.
And I got my little proud zebra.
Oh, I
out
like
there.
that.
Yes, I got my little proud zebra. And yeah, it's just, you talk about world-class Springboks, the best in the world. And Investec is a South African institution aligned with the greatest club competition in the world. And for someone like me who's been following this competition for its 31 years, because there were so many South Africans playing in it throughout the years. I go back to one of my favorite wins was when Munster won it, I think in 2000, Trevor Holstead. He was playing for Munster and he was an icon over there.
Yes, he was.
And the Red Army was on fire. They won two titles. They've got 2 of the stars. And I think that's the biggest challenge here in South Africa for us is to educate our public about the essence of this competition. It's the one they want. And, you know, we kind of like, when Andrew Porter was saying we're chasing the 5th star, and we kind of gave him a bit of a dig, the Leinster prop. But it is the star. That's what these guys play for. And I think it comes down to top 14 is the French domestic competition. Top 8 teams go into the Investec Champions Cup. 8 of the English Prem teams go in there.
Yep.
And we in the URC do have an international competition already. So our public then says, so what makes this one so special? Because it's international. Because they would say then it's cross-border, it's international. We're already flying to Ireland, flying to Scotland, flying to Wales, flying to Italy. But it is the creme de la creme of world rugby. And if anything, you'd stick a Chiefs and a Crusaders in there, and then that's it. You've got your world
Your best clubs in the world.
And the best players in the world are there. Teams ranked in the top 5 in the world internationally. So your Irelands, your France, your England, your South Africas. Their players all play in the Investec Champions Cup. And
Well, that's the key, isn't it? Is the URC is Ireland, Scotland, Wales. There is no France. There is no England. You catch up with those clubs on a very short turnaround sometimes with very little prep in the Champions Cup.
yeah, and again, so Dion Fourie, your favorite mate, my favorite mate, one of the absolute big boys of South African rugby, World Cup winning captain, 2023 in the last 3 minutes, played at Lyon for 8 years, came back, 100 matches for Province, 100 matches for the DHL Stormers. So Dion, because he's on the recovery road, he's been on the road show. And it was like, are you stalking me or am I stalking you? So from the Lensbury in southwest London to Sandton yesterday, there was Dion representing the Stormers. And I mean, he's great value, okay? And he said what really annoyed him at the launch at the Lensbury when they had Lawrence Dallaglio, John Barkley, Rob Shaw, Chris Robshaw, and no one picked a South African team to win this thing. And he said, that made me angry. Dion, that made me very angry. And when South Africans get angry, we get motivated. Right? So keep on not picking us and we're going to get angry and you do that. But he just spoke about more his French experience, about, yes, they want to win the top 14, but it's the star. It's like they are measured by, can you win the Investec Champions Cup? Yes or no? If you do that, you are the best club team in the world. The guys down south, in Crusader world, they would have to come here and just kind of settle that debate, which they're never going to do. But every time we see them come on the end of year tour, that debate gets settled because they get beaten. But it is just, he said, the magnitude of this competition, and then how the French teams approach it, how the English teams approach it. And he felt there were teething problems in the first 2-3 years with us trying to manage the URC and the Investec Champions Cup. And he says, but he thinks we're past that now. Squads are building greater depth. And the key there is win your home games and try and pox one on the road in the league stages. And once you enter the last 16, the key there is obviously home ground advantage.
Totally.
And then the finals, if you can get to the final, and then this year, the weekend of the 23rd of May, it's Bilbao in Spain. It's going to be incredible.
Neutral venue.
Hopefully me and you will be there, Zelzy.
Of course, mate.
Doing a nice vlog, a nice pod. But it's massive. And when we were in Sporting Isolation, we spoke about, if only we could play the Six Nations teams. If only we could play, well, back then it was 5 nations. If only we could play Australia and New Zealand. If only we could play in the World Cup. And then we got a chance to play in the World Cup and we won it in 95. I think that's the mindset here. We would watch the Leinsters of the world, the Toulouses, the Munsters, the Saracens. Imagine if we could play those teams. But now we get the chance to play those teams.
Yeah.
And we've got to put our best foot forward. Mm-hmm. And we've got to actually show that we can be competitive. And for me, the search is on. We've got to win a star. Once South Africa has won their first star, then we've got it all, mate. Then we've won it all. Because we've won it all at international level. We won the URC through the Stormers in the first season. We won Super Rugby.
We even won the Currie Cup, mate.
We won the Currie Cup. And the Sharks, bless them, won the EPCR Challenge Cup.
Yeah.
So the only thing that we haven't won as South African rugby is the Investec Champions Cup. And Investec is a South African brand. I mean, they need us to go win that competition as well. And the Bulls and the Stormers, of the 3 teams competing, have to be the two teams we look at this season and go, wow, you can win it. And the Bulls are playing the defending champions, Bordeaux, in Pretoria on Saturday. And it requires a statement performance from the Bulls against a star-studded Bordeaux team filled with internationals, filled with some of the best French backs as well, to say, hey, South Africa is in the Investec Champions Cup and we're here to win it, not to make up the numbers.
That was beautiful, mate. 100% agree with you on all those points. Huge game. The Bulls, new coach, Andre Pollard's back in town, new ambitions, still on the high vault, still at Fortress Loftus, hosting the defending champs, a team laden with superstars, and certainly an opportunity for the Bulls to lay down a marker and kind of set their stall for the season in the EPCR Champions Cup. They're coming off a disappointing loss against the Lions, and they'll want to put things right. The timing couldn't be better for the Bulls for this Bordeaux game. There'll be a singular focus about sort of reclaiming their space at the top of the South African rugby food chain. And I'm expecting a no-holds-barred sort of playoff intensity match, or at least that performance from the Bulls this week. I think it's going to be huge.
Look, I was in Cardiff last week. I don't know if you know it, because I've been telling a lot of people that. I happened to be at the Principality, watching the Boks cause mayhem, 73-0. But I was focused on that match. Okay? I was kind of going on to SARugbymag magazine's digital and social media sites to see what was going on in the domestic competition. I'd picked the Bulls, obviously, to just win at a canter against the Lions in the Yixgate derby. And I saw 17-0. It wasn't on SA Rugby magazine side. It was from you, Zels. You sent me a message. Jeez, these Oaks have started. They're on fire. And then I just heard that they won. I saw the score 43-33. And then as I was bashing away, we won 73-0. Obviously, the Urban Chaos to the press conference with Rassie and Sia, 21-6 to Munster at halftime against the Stormers. Spoke to Borch at SA Rugby. Keep the Boks at the lead. Stormers are getting pumped. Dole Johnson, beautiful jug, sent me a message 45 minutes later. Your mate Dobbo is a special coach. I thought he was taking the piss. What was that score in Limerick? And then they won 27-21. Incredible statement performance from the informed Stormers. Your mates, your colleagues, 6 from 6 in the URC. But as JD Strickland and the boys have said, it's a new competition this week. They're away to Bayonne, 5th of December. They play on the first night. They're one of 2 games, and then we go into the big 6th of December, Saturday, and then it's the Sharks, and that's the Bulls, Bordeaux, and then the 7th, the Sharks are playing Toulouse. And I just ask the rugby gods why. Why at this juncture? Why at this juncture do you give our Sharkies Toulouse away from home without your Springboks, who've come off a 5-match tour of Europe, as Antoine Dupont decides I'm back and I'll be starting at home against the Sharks?
Mate, the one thing the Sharks know how to do is to lose, mate. And they've got them this week. The timing couldn't be worse for them. But again, that is also a massive opportunity, right? Just like the Challenge Cup was for them a couple of seasons ago with Urban leading the charge there. They were written off and they had a terrible URC season, but then they put it together in the Challenge Cup and they won the title there. And that kind of, I don't know if it papered over the cracks, but it certainly was a shot of motivation and joy, I suppose, for Sharks fans. And so this Champions Cup represents the same opportunity for them. If they knock over Toulouse, memory of recent losses in the URC, many of them very disappointing, will kind of get diluted in a big way and may give this team some impetus going forward.
Okay, you are getting a bit carried away, so let's look at winners. The Bulls and the Stormers at the moment.
Mate, you can't just write them off.
No, I've written them off, okay? I've written them off. They're in poor form. The Springboks are tired. They're playing the 6-star champions of the Investec Champions Cup to lose.
Didn't you hear what Brunner said? He said, if you
there's-
write us off.
Yeah, but that's the Sharks we're talking about.
Okay.
We're not talking about the Bulls or the Stormers. Toulouse is an incredible club. I mean, when I chatted to their representatives in London, and I chatted to Joel Markel, the Spanish prop, loosehead, tight head, and lock, and he spoke about their recruitment drive.
He plays lock as well.
Yeah, this guy, and I mean, and he speaks 5 languages.
Wow.
I mean, who's this guy? He went for Toulouse, Rambo. And he plays for Spain.
Wow.
And he's going to the World Cup in 2027.
Jeez.
He has an English father. And as we said in the previous show, his mom's Catalan. So, and what a charismatic bloke. But he spoke about the recruitment drive at Toulouse. And he said, they know where they got a deficiency. He said, take Reinhard Elstad. We needed mongrel. We needed a guy who was hard and he could fight. So we brought him in.
Got the right guy.
Cheslin Colby.
Yeah.
We needed someone who was a wizard. We brought him in. He said, Jerome Kainu, they knew what they had. But Jerome Kainu, as he said at the time, he didn't come there post-winning the World Cup in 2015. He came there to win the Investec Champions Cup.
Wow.
And he did that. And he still talks about it being one of his great days. Talk about Bakkies Buerta, Joe van Niekerk, Brian Abana. They all talk about John Smith winning that incredible 3 in a row. They weren't all there for all 3, but they were there in between the 3 for Toulon in a row. History makers, what it meant to that international Galacticos who went there and did that. They also won a top 40, but they only won 1 top 40. They wanted the big one in Europe. And for our South African rugby audience, if you think Premier League, you think La Liga, you think Serie A, Bundesliga, and then you think Champions League
Yeah.
and Europa League. EPCR Challenge Cup is Europa League. This is Champions League. This is the equivalent of Champions League, the best of the best. And that's why we have to make a statement. We have to somehow find that balance of what do we compromise in the URC to get wins in the Investec Champions Cup. Don't send B teams to get done by 60 or 70 points. It does your brand no good. It doesn't put you at the top table of club rugby in the world. And when I look, and we said, I mean, the Lions and the Cheetahs, they'll be playing in the EPCR. They're brave and they can pull off the odd win. The Sharks have been the greatest underperformers in every league that they've played in, with that star-studded Springbok side. But the strength of our rugby at the moment sits in the south with the Stormers and sits in the north with the Bulls. The Bulls picked a squad of 20 Springboks in their Investec Champions Cup squad, past and current. And when you look at Wilco Low, Grobbies, Steenekamp, Ruud Nokia, that's 4 of that pack that destroyed, that absolutely destroyed Wales and they were influential in the other games on tour. Now you add them to the mix. I hope they play on Saturday.
Yeah.
I hope they understand that this is the 6th test of what they've just had. And they make that statement home win performance, because you put them there and you put Andre Pollard at 10. It's a very different Bull setup to what played against the Lions last week.
No, 100%. I mean, those oaks are test caliber players and have been involved in playing for the best international side in the world. So Andre Pollard will have to be extremely fresh legs, having not been involved. And he's a guy with massive pedigree. And then talking about legs, you don't get past Wilco Louw, right? I mean, the human quad, you can only imagine the kind of destruction there. So if Bordeaux are coming to Pretoria thinking they're going to get anything less than industrial sort of farm equipment treatment from this pack, they're going to be in for a surprise. And the Bulls have got a bunch of guys slowly working their way back from injury. Ulrich Louw made his return. That team is ferocious. I think what undid them against the Lions is that Uckers had them trying to be the Lions. And you're not going to out-Lions the Lions. The Bulls have got to get back to doing what is fundamental to them, which is controlling the momentum, physically owning the set piece, the collisions on attack and defense. And once you've got control of the momentum, then you unleash those Oaks who are deadly out wide, and they've got plenty of that there too. I think the Bulls are going to be frothing at the opportunity to get stuck into Bordeaux, to lay down a mark and say, hey, we beat the defending champions in our first outing this season. Forget about these matches we've had in the URC now. We're back.
If you look at that Bull setup post Jake, and everyone loves Uckers. What he did with the Lions, Swayze took them to a Super Rugby final. Uckers took them to 2 finals. They had been relegated. They were out of Super Rugby, went and built a team. At the time, apparently no-name brands. And they made 2 successive finals, one at Ellis Park and then one away to the Hurricanes in Wellington. They played the Crusaders, Ellis Park, Kwagga Smith, the infamous Red. Some say should never have been. And the Crusaders were hanging on just to get that win in the end. But he really transformed that team. And I think the expectation, and we go back to Jake, he got three finals in the URC out of 4. Not necessarily the way people wanted him to get them, but he got there.
Yeah.
He got a quarterfinal in the Investec Champions Cup. And there was this feel-good factor on Uckers. Uckers is coming in. Uckers is everyone's favorite. Uckers was this presence as a Springbok lock in the 96, 97 seasons. Uckers. And they've leaked tries in the first 6 rounds of the URC. They're 3 from 6.
Yeah.
They've done some brilliant things on attack. But it's a very unlike Johan Ackerman performance that we've seen over these 2 months. Are we then going to get this statement performance against the defending champions, the champions of Europe, the best club team in the world, because they won the final, Bordeaux, their first ever star? Are we going to get that in Pretoria at 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon?
I'm going to say yes, mate. I mean, I can't see how not. There's just too much quality potentially in this team, assuming they pick their strongest side. There's just way too much quality there. They may lack a bit of the cohesion of having played together a lot recently. I think there's some guys who will get replaced who are probably a little bit more comfortable in the Bulls' systems at the moment. But that won't be negated, because the fact is that this pack will generate momentum. With Wilco Louw there, you're going to have the penalties, you're going to have the go forward. Gerard Steenekamp, Grobies, the rest of the group as well. So the Bulls, I think, should be favourites to win this game. As much as they are playing the defending champions, if they pick their strongest side and they're playing on the high felt, these guys have had to fly across the world. I totally think that the Bulls can win this game and should win this game.
Look, and people say it's just an overnight flight. I think they're offline business class. I was stuck in 81D cargo, man. It's not pleasant.
Still got some splinters in your butt.
It's not pleasant. I got to tell you, it's not pleasant. Okay. Now, I'm not exactly 6'9", so that's what the South African players were going through for the last 3 years.
Exactly.
They were flying economy class via Dubai and Doha.
Yeah.
To get there.
Some of the locks are actually sleeping in the overhead. It was easier.
Basically,
Yeah.
Or just in the aisle. And everyone's, don't make excuses. It's a travel factor. No, do make excuses, because those actually be sitting in first class and going to win games. But that Bordeaux team, again, we talk about France. And you speak to our South African rugby supporters, we haven't beaten anyone until we've beaten France. Well, this is France, okay?
It is France.
It's like half the French teams.
These two teams,
okay?
Bordeaux and Toulouse, that's France.
That's France, okay? And they're the M4 teams. You take Damien Pinot on the wing. You take Louis Berry. I mean, well, on form, the best winner in the world. We've got great winners. Colby, Hooker, and Curtly Orenser. But I tell you now, if Louis Berry was here, he'll be in the Springbok squad. And so would Pinot. They are just outstanding finishers. Pinot got 6 tries against the Sharks last year at home. They pumped him by 60-plus points, just in case you forgot that one.
6 tries, mate.
6 tries in a game.
Come on.
Hey,
That's just childish.
Yeah, Damien Pinot. His dad also a great play.
Yeah.
He played fly for France. Jalibert, one of my favorite 10s. Now, he's not starting for France regularly because Intermac is starting. So it's like, that's the Sasha Mahoney kind of thing we got going on the Apollo. They have quality. Their pack is strong. They've also, they had an indifferent start to their top 14. They're 3 from 6. The Bulls are 3 from 6. But this is the one they want. And when I was over in London, Jacques Reynaud, the CEO of the EPCR, and he is a Toulon man, by the way, but he says he's impartial. Only when Toulon play, then he basically just goes as a spectator, okay? But he said that he was trying to emphasize to the neutral media how big this competition is. Bordeaux won it for the first time in their history last season. He said the club owners, the presidents, they couldn't believe what a difference it is to winning the Investec Champions Cup, to winning a top 14, because it's international. Cardiff, 75,000 people there for the final. People arrived in their own club as representation, whether your club was knocked out or not. But the messages, he said,
the solidarity
the French
with the
president was contacting to say, well done. International celebrities were contacting him and members of the club to say, well done. He said he realized that this is not a domestic competition. It's an international competition.
I think that's what we take for granted, Jack, because for so long we've had Super Rugby, we're flying to Australia, flying to New Zealand. Now the URC, we're flying over. We take it for granted that club comp, serious ones, are international. But if you're French, you come up through the top 14 and you don't play Champions Cup, you're only playing in France. You're never ever playing international clubs. So it's a huge, huge deal.
And the culture again, and like we've got to get used to understanding who's coming here. When La Rochelle came and they played the Stormers, there were 14 internationals in their 50.
Yeah.
And they were French internationals plus like a host of Barbarians. So the Boks will play against the Barbarians, a makeshift team that's put together on the Monday, and it sells out 50,000 people at the DHL Stadium. Then La Rochelle comes, a team that is playing in a competition, one of the best, defending champions, and you don't get 50,000 people there. It's like, come on, guys, the best players in the world are coming to the Republic.
Yeah.
They're coming in just for one game. They're basically lambs to the slaughter, as we are when we go over there for one game, as the Sharks are going to be on Sunday, going to Toulouse. Toulouse is going to be packed. They want to see Dupont back, and they want to see their team win and win well. We've got to have that same mentality that there's life beyond the Springboks.
Yeah.
That the Bulls, you know, when the Bulls beat Leinster in the URC semi-final, that was the Irish team basically, 12 of those 15. The Boks actually did it tougher 2 months later against those same players to what the Bulls did that day, because the Bulls have been together for 6 months. The Boks have been together for 2 weeks. So I'm going to be in Pretoria on Saturday. You and I are going to be in Cabrera next weekend when La Rochelle plays the Stormers, to bring you guys some good insights, behind the scenes stuff of the Investec Champions Cup. But I just want us to make a crowd statement as well. There's great activations. There's lots of money to be won, money that goes to charities through Investec, money that goes to the lucky person that's at the ground. There is this gears around this competition, and it's like to say to a South African audience, we are playing in the greatest club competition in the world.
Yeah.
Go and support it.
Totally, man. I don't have much more to add to that. I mean, that really does sum it up. It is a great competition. For me, I'm excited about the matchups. So Bordeaux is in town. They're playing in Pretoria, and it's Wilco Louw potentially back. And who's he going to pack down against on the opposite end of the opposite scrum? Carl Usari potentially is in the mix. Sort of Timu Wilco Louw, also another quad disciple, and a hell of a scrummager himself. And that's just one of the guys we know from South Africa, and then obviously all the guys you've mentioned, Damien Penal, BRE, amongst the rest of them. So it's a fantastic squad. Toulouse, also another star-studded side. And then you've got the Stormers are in Bayonne, just down the road from Bilbao, where they're going to play the final. And Bayonne have got their own group of special players. Manu Tuilagi is probably a guy people remember from his time with England, an absolute powerhouse inside centre. So it's a juicy start to the comp, mate. Now we've got the Cheetahs are in Exeter to play the Chiefs in the Challenge Cup. And we've got the Lions against Benetton at Ellis Park on Saturday. So some big games.
Some big European games, and we say European, but like we're part of it now, so global games, international games. Just a last word on the Bulls, okay? Bulls Bordeaux played 20th of January 2024 at Loftus, and it was before the Bordeaux had won their first star. 46-40 to the Bulls, 6 tries apiece. Bordeaux came back in the end and scored some scintillating tries. And that was the first reminder to South African public, like there's a new kid in town in French rugby. Because we always think Toulouse, of late, La Rochelle, Stade Francais has always been around, Clermont, Montpellier, because Jay coached all the South Africans there. At one stage, there were 7 South Africans in the starting lineup. At one stage, there was 4 Duplessis in the Montpellier side and 3 French players. I remember the French hooker saying, the reserve hooker to Bismarck, he was saying that the only thing that happened when Jake was at Montpellier was that his rugby regressed and his English improved. But Jake did get them into the Investec Champions Cup.
Did.
So there's been such South African history around it. I was fortunate to bump into Brent Russell, who played for Clermont. He says Joe Smith, best coach he's ever had, because he was more a manager than he was a coach with Vern Cotter at Clermont. He spoke about the way they balanced this Investec Champions Cup with their domestic top 14. And there's been such a flavour of South Africans that have gone over and succeeded. I mean, Sean Selby's in the mix at Bordeaux. He's in the coaching structure. He played 10 minutes against Samoa. I was with the Boks at the time. He played 10 minutes. He came on for Skinstad, and they were big rivals at the time. And I think it's the 10 minutes he may regret, because he would have played 60 test matches for France.
Easy.
He went over there. He's one of the most spoken about powerhouse 8s that played in the top 14 in the Investec Champions Cup, and just couldn't play for France and was never picked again for South Africa. It was also at a time where we weren't picking foreign-based players. So he's there. It's going to be great to catch up with him on the weekend. If you want to know what I'm thinking in terms of a result, you go to africapicks.com and you will see exactly. I'm going to do an accumulator of all the matchups. Wow, I'm really putting it on the line there. It's going to pay well. So go there and check that out. But the one I want to talk about, because you are so intricately involved with it, you are the guy who's been so instrumental in taking the Stormers to 16.
Please.
Sorry, Dobbo. Sorry, Dubo. Dubo's in Beyond at the moment, okay? And as Manu said to me, I said, what's so special about Beyond? He said, the sun. I said, you've hardly been injured for 2 years. He said, just the place, the sun, all his family's there. His brothers
beautiful.
are there. His nephews are there, the Tuolagi family.
Beautiful.
And to see him in form as well. I mean, geez, that would be a great matchup.
Sure.
But the Stormers, I know you've done a lot of analysis. I'm not asking you to dip into the deep, dark secrets of what the Stormers have to do. I'm more wanting you to educate us. What makes Bayonne such a difficult team? They lost 1 game at home all season in all competitions. That was to the Bulls last year. What makes them a difficult team, and how do you actually beat them?
So in France, there's an unwritten rule that when you play away from home, you don't win. Okay, in the French top 14, when you play at home, you're unbeatable. When you play away, forget about it. The ref's not going to be on your team. That's sort of an unwritten code of the top 14. And so Bayonne's away form, I think, can be penciled down to that sort of mentality, whether that's a fact or just a mental sort of outlook that the players have. That seems to be a recurring trend in the top 14. But one thing they know how to do in France, which is probably a little bit of an insight into why they are such a tough team to beat internationally, is they kick the ball, and they kick it often, and they kick it a lot, and they kick it long. So if you look at the URC, the team that kicks more in every single game wins 65% of matches. Okay, and that is a massive indicator of success. If you carry more, it's around 55%. If you tackle more, it's low 50s. But if you kick more, it's 65% win rate in matches. That's the URC. You look at the top 14, man, it's almost 80%. So the teams that kick more are very successful in the top 14, and the teams that play at home and kick more are very difficult to beat. And one thing that Bayonne are very, very good at is kicking the ball, and they kick it some distance, almost 900 meters a game. So it's quite tricky to control the field against them, because you need penalties, I suppose, to negate that massive kick meters volume. And then they've got elements of their game around that complement that kicking game that make them tough to beat. So they are a serious opponent. They've got a vaunted home record. As you mentioned, the Bulls are the last team to beat them in Bayonne, and that's what the Stormers will be setting out to do. The Stormers last week clinched their first win against Munster away, and they'll be looking to add the Bayonne sculpt to their sort of collection of milestones this season. But it won't be easy. I'm reading that there may be some changes to that Bayonne team, and as much as some of their mainline guys might not be in the mix, that also creates a little sort of question marks and uncertainty around, well, how are they going to play and who's going to play where? So I think it'll be a very tricky match, mate, playing at 10 o'clock South African time in France. That gives the boys the whole day to stock up on croissants and anything else they can find at the bakery to prepare. Carbo load. But I think it's going to be a big challenge, man. And it took the team some time to get to Bayonne. You know, we think, because it is quite a short distance, we think it's in South Africa, you just jump on a plane, you're in Joburg in 2 hours. But from Ireland to France can be a little bit like planes, trains, and automobiles to get there. So even though the distance was short, the time was quite long. So it's a relatively short week for the Stormers and a big challenge.
But I mean, also again, 6 from 6 in the URC, 4 of those wins overseas. Incredible start for them in that one competition. They want to make a statement and then basically back it up, playing La Rochelle, even though it's not a home game in the sense of Cape Town. There's going to be 35,000 plus in Kibera. They get great support there. They play Leicester Tigers in January in Cape Town. It's going to be a great game there as well. You get one away win in this league stage. We are set up.
You're in the money.
You're in, and that's what Northampton got last year.
Yeah.
They went to Loftus. They were bulldozed for 40 minutes. Somehow they went behind. Henry Pollock had a great game that day. They played so well. I think Finn Smith played well. And they won the game, and that kind of set them on their way to believing they could beat anyone. If you can go to the Republic and beat the Bulls at Loftus at altitude, you can win big games. So they went to Leinster, the Aviva Stadium. They beat them in the semi-final, and they just a little bit shy, 28-20 in the final against Bordeaux, which tells you the quality of their Bordeaux side. And Munster pushed their Bordeaux side as well in the semi-final in a big way in the quarterfinal. And then Bordeaux went and just hammered Toulouse, who had to play away from home. And Toulouse only played away from home because they were down in the log positions because they had to come to Durban. And it was a 20 points to 8 game, and they didn't get the bonus point. And so for these French teams also to come to South Africa just for one-off hits, it's something they've never really had to do. They don't like going to the next town, which is 20 Ks away to play an away game. Now they've got to come to South Africa and play an away game. But they, you know, when I spoke to the lads from PAL as well, Section PAL, that they are excited too. They played against the Lions in the Champions, in the Challenge Cup a couple of seasons ago at Ellis Park. Also, high-scoring game. They came back well at the end. For them to be playing in the first time in 25 years, they'll be playing in the Investec Champions Cup. There is, and I see they knocked over Bordeaux 34-33. So there's no weak team in this 24.
No.
That's the thing. I think
it's proper.
Yeah,
I mean, they're right at the top of that top 14.
Yeah, I know. We talk about a World Cup. You go to a World Cup and you got 3 of your pool games are pretty, it's a gimme. You talk about the Investec Champions Cup. Everything is tough. And it's that cross-border rivalry that Oaks love. So I really want the Bulls to put out a statement performance. And I believe the Stormers are good enough to win away from home. They've now proven it. They've won in Italy back-to-back. Not an easy task.
Yeah.
They basically beat the Italian national team, which was Benetton.
Yeah.
They won in Wales, and people mock the Welsh national team, but their clubs are hard to beat at home on a...
Dragons just run Leinster close?
Yeah, and they were done a little bit of a dirty by the match officials because Leinster should have finished the game with about 12 oaks. Glasgow got blanked, 23-0. But you said that's because Franco Smith was refereeing at Cardiff, so that he wasn't.
That makes sense.
He wasn't at the game. Now, these are bloody tough matches, you know. And I do feel for the Sharks. They've had a horrendous run. It's not going well there. They basically axed Plum. They've moved him on to another role, executive portfolio of none. And
I don't think there'll be any fear factor for Toulouse. Obviously, the Sharks coming to town. Toulouse reinforced by Jack Willis. A couple other blokes coming back you may have heard of. Thomas Ramos, the fullback. Aldegheri's back in town and fit and ready to play. They have lost 1 or 2 players. There's question marks around Matt LaBelle, the winger, the leading try scorer in the top 14. He's potentially out of this match. But they've got this monster outside centre, Nico Deportier, or I don't know, I'm going to slaughter French team names, but this outside centre is a manier. And he leads, I think in the top 14, he's in the top 5 for dominant tackles. He's just this powerhouse midfielder. So they're going to have their hands full containing these guys. But I do think, like Sio's comments about being embarrassed about where the Sharks are at.
And then taking a 5-week break.
No, he's taken a week off, mate. But I think that's got to sting them a bit. And I think, there's got to be some sort of a reaction. As much as the momentum is not on their favour, the fact that they've been completely written off, they're back in France where they've done good things before. They've in the Challenge Cup, they've had some success. They'll want to put some wrongs right there. So you've got to hope that there's some sort of a reaction from the Sharks team. If they lay down and die against Toulouse, and I don't know, there's rumours maybe they just want to go to the Challenge Cup, mate. Get the Champions Cup done. The teams that finish 5th in each of these pools end up in the Challenge Cup playoffs. Maybe that's the route.
I don't buy that because they gave that one up last year. They won it. They said it was the greatest thing they ever won. And the next year they just gave up the ghost, which really was an embarrassing situation as well. We've been clamoring to play against the best. I go back to in our sporting isolation. So there's a generation that doesn't know how it feels to not be able to compete on the international stage. I lived through that period where we were the pariahs of the world. We weren't invited anywhere. I look at a guy like Mark Alexander, who's been at the helm of SA Rugby basically since 2016. At a time when we were losing to Wales, we were losing 57-0 to the All Blacks, 57-15 to the All Blacks, 38-3 to Ireland, losing to Italy. People were burning the Bok jersey. Absa pulled out as a sponsor. He went and found other sponsors.
Yeah.
He went and found great big South African names. He was at the launch, the Investec launch. He was so thankful for Investec as a South African brand being involved in this competition. And he confirmed that for South Africa to be part, when New Zealand kicked us out of Super Rugby during COVID. So they woke up one day and said, doesn't suit us. Cheers, you and Argentina. Yeah. And as John Smith said, it's the best thing that ever happened to us, okay? He confirmed that we had to pay, we as in SA Rugby, SARu had to pay 2.8 billion rand to buy their way into a competition and wait 3 years to become full members. And they did that out of their cash reserves. They didn't go to a bank. They didn't get any sort of funding. They did that, and we are now fully fledged members of the EPCR. Our teams get all the gains from it. SARu gets all the financial gains. Our broadcasters, there's 26 broadcasters globally who do this competition. SuperSport is one of them, considered to be the best as well in terms of what they give to rugby. But so a guy like Mark Alexander and his leadership and what he's done, it's just incredible. So when you are putting 2.8 billion rand down, you deserve to see the best 23 run out and actually represent this country because of that.
Yeah.
And actually chase that first star. And we've got to get a narrative going in this country, chasing the star. We chased the sun and we did it good.
Yeah.
But we've got to chase the star, that golden star. We need that first one. Is it going to be the Bulls? Is it going to be this season the Stormers? They are our 2 strongest challengers. And in the future, could it be the Lions? Could it be the Sharks? We have this ambition to chase that kind of thing. And this isn't this, people are like, oh, URC. This isn't the URC. This is bigger, better, more international and global. You win this, you are the best club team in the world. And you can go play the Crusaders or the Chiefs. You can go play them in Hong Kong and be a big money spin, or Saudi Arabia or Miami. But this is the one you want to win. You want to beat the Toulouses, the Saracens, the Leinsters, the La Rochelles, the Northampton Saints, the Baths, Johan van Kraan's Baths. Brilliant South African coach who's led them. They got the treble. They won the Challenge Cup. They won the 2 English domestic ones. They're in the Investec Champions Cup. They're seen as one of the favorites. Wow. I mean, there's so much South African about the Investec Champions Cup. We've had, over the 30 years, so many players who have done well. Bakkies Botha, Brian Habana, they were picked by the fans after 30 years as being the best lock and best win that's ever played in that competition. So there's just so much goodness about it. I'm going to be in Pretoria, as I said. Zels and I will be in Kibera for the Stormers game. There's a fantasy league. If you go to the EPCR homepage, you'll see all the details about that. Pick your fantasy team. Zels and I are going to be picking our fantasy team when the teams come out later this week. You can follow that on the KEO and ZELS WhatsApp, on the SA Rugby Magazine socials. And then we're going to compare every Monday. How's our fantasy team doing? And we're going to live and love this competition. The structure isn't ideal. Everyone concedes that it's 2 weeks, and then we forget about it for a bit, but we're not going to allow you to forget about it because we're going to be talking about it. Then we're going to ERC. Then January, we come back for 2 weeks. The league stages are over. Then we go into the last 16, last 8, and then we go obviously into the semi-final and final, and the final, Bilbao in Spain, weekend of the 23rd of May. It's going to be huge. And like Reno was saying, that for the Cardiff economy, they had 45,000 for the Bath Challenge Cup final on the Friday night, and 75,000 for Leinster against 50 million euros. That's what the Cardiff city got from tourism for that.
Oh, ka-ching.
So to host a thing like that, and
Brilliant.
They haven't ruled Cape Town
I was
out.
going to say, bring it to Cape Town.
But it's all about commerce, and it's all about financials. They haven't ruled Cape Town out, but that's not going to happen for a bit. But you can't also want to bring the finals of the Investec Champions Cup to South Africa when our public doesn't necessarily embrace the competition because we haven't won it. I think that is the key. And it starts for me, Zels, on Saturday. If we, as the Bulls, and I'm wearing my Macron, KEO and ZELS Bulls colors today, because as I said to Clinton van der Berg, we're not just pro-Stormers, and we're not anti-Sharks. We are just pro-South African rugby, okay? And I want the Bulls to do well. I believe there's enough quality in that
Definitely,
to
mate.
beat Bordeaux, and it's an incredible Bordeaux side, and with some of the best players in the world, but I think we can win it. Your thoughts, my friend?
No, mate, we are preaching from the same, singing from the same hymn sheet, they say.
All right.
Absolutely, yeah. Bulls have got to do it. I believe the Stormers can win in Bayonne, and I'm holding out hope that the Sharks can do it at Toulouse. So let's go. Let's go.
It all kicks off, but before we go, I know this is dedicated to the Investec Champions Cup, but the Boks also came 5 from 5. Incredible tour. Only appropriate. Borchi and the boys have done it.
Beautiful.
They've done it. Sia Khaleesi, fantastic.
Yo.
100 test matches. Kobus Reinach, he got to 50. Hertje Stammen got to 50.
Yep.
It's been an incredible year. We cannot not mention Etzebeth. 141 tests. Only had 1 yellow card in that. Inexcusable. He's going to get a long suspension. He had his hearing. They're going to announce it on Sunday. I'm expecting 12 months. And I'm not downplaying what he did, but I think it could be the best thing for him if it's 12 months, to take 12 months out the game, get his body ready for 2027. But it's unfortunate that a player who's given so much, that's how his year ended in Cardiff.
No, very unfortunate. I'm hoping it's half of that. I'm hoping it's 6 months, and I'm hoping that he's ready to go for the mid-year tests and for the All Blacks. So that's I think that would be fair, and I think it would be the best for him and the best for South African rugby as well. But let's see what happens. Apparently, big disagreement among the panel in the hearing as to what the sanctions should be. So I don't know which way it's going to lean. But hopefully it's nothing outrageous and silly.
But as South Africans on social media, and hey, we like to blame the world. We like to feel like we've been done an injustice. If that had been any other player who had done it to our player,
No, sure.
we'd be screaming. So we know the iconic status of Etzebeth. We know what he's done
Yeah.
for the Springboks, and what an incredible servant of the game he has been for us. But what we haven't and we can't excuse is what he did. And the sanction that he gets, we got to accept it and we got to move on, and it will be justified. It was an awful act in the moment, and let it not cloud what he's done in his career. He's not a thug. 1 yellow card in 141 tests.
Exactly.
But that was a moment of madness that's going to be punished. The good news, though, is Investec Champions Cup is here. We are playing the Bulls at home against the defending champions Bordeaux, and in form Stormers are going to Bayonne and Toulouse, the greatest team that's ever played in the Champions Cup with 6 stars, are hosting the Sharks.
Yeah, and look, we just got news. The World Cup draw is out. South Africa in Pool B, they've been drawn with Italy, Georgia, and Romania. Not the toughest pool schedule we've ever seen. And if I look at the remainder of the pools, you've got one big dog in each of the 6. And then some pretty average teams backing them up. It looks to me like what would have been the big game in historical Rugby World Cup pool stages has now been shifted to this expanded playoffs where we have a round of 16. So it's going to be pretty much popcorn, I think, in the pool stages of the 2027 World Cup. I think the tournament will kick off for real once we get to the playoffs in the round of 16.
Well, the only winners there apparently are New Zealand and Australia. They have another Bledisloe Cup.
There you go, mate.
They've been put in the same
They've extended
pools.
it, yeah.
And Wales are in with England, I believe.
Yes.
And Scotland and Ireland. So there's a nice match up there, but both will go through
Yep.
to the last 16. What I will say is that we will at least have some good scrum hitouts against the likes of Georgia and Italy. So when at least our forwards will get some good, but our backs will run them amok. I was thinking of being in Australia from the beginning of the World Cup, but I'll be arriving at the last 16 where it all starts. So the World Cup is going to be the last 4 weeks, not the first.
Mate, I'll be watching the first 4 weeks for Pool F. Zimbabwe, mate, taking on Tonga, Wales, and England. I'll be rooting for the Sables to go all the way, mate.
Well, the Sables,
Shock the world.
The Sables will think they can definitely get a win. And we're going to be giving the Sables a lot of airtime here because they're from Africa.
There you go.